Hello, everyone. You're welcome to another enlightening and interesting series on the Amogate Radio Communications Program. My name is Adikpeju Jayoba, and together we will be considering a very interesting topic that is very fundamental to today's dynamic and changing workplace system. And the topic we'll be considering is reconnecting work generations through organizational culture. Now, here at Amogate, we believe in building strong and sustainable organizations that will in turn impact the larger community of nations. This is why we are committed to bringing you informative and insightful radio programs such as this one. And the aim of this program is to help business owners and organizational leaders effectively navigate, manage, and maximize emerging intergenerational dynamics occurring in the workplace. Yes, intergenerational dynamics. I'm sure each and every one of us have observed that the age demographics within most organizations is gradually changing and shifting, with more individuals from the younger generations taking up job roles, while persons or individuals from older generations are either retiring or getting close to retirement. The younger generations I'm referring to are the millennials, that are also known as the Generation Y, and the Generation Z, the Gen Zs. Yes, these are the younger generations I'm referring to, and they're gradually taking up more space within the global workforce. Statistics show that Gen Zs and millennials currently make up approximately 38% of the global workforce, and this percentage is set to rise to 60% by 2030. Millennials and Gen Zs currently represent 35% of the work population in the United States, and they account for a whopping 42% in China. As these millennial workforce statistics show, we can say that these younger generations represent a huge chunk of the labor forces of the two top economies in the world. A continent like Africa is also not left out. For a country like Uganda, where 75% of the population are below age 30, Gen Zs comprise the country's human capital assets to a remarkable extent. In Nigeria, they make up 49% of the total workforce, while in Ghana, they make up for 37%. That means that the millennials and Gen Zs take up a good share within the global workforce. And it is imperative that business owners and leaders within organizations understudy these generations to know how to maximize their potentials. For those who are asking, who are the millennials? Millennials are individuals that are born between the year 1981 to 1996, meaning that the oldest millennial is 42, and while the youngest millennial is 27 years. While Gen Zs are persons born between 1997 to 2010, meaning that the oldest Gen Z is 26 years, while the youngest Gen Z is 13. With the events and the eras that these generations were born into, it is important to note that they are very different from the older generations. And I'm sure we've observed it. They are different in values, different in philosophies, preferences, expectations, behavior, and motivations. And these diverse characteristics show up in the workplace. The way an individual or an employee from an older generation would act within the workplace is quite different from how a millennial or a Gen Zer would behave or respond within the workplace. So very quickly, let's look at the unique characteristics of the millennials and Gen Zs. First of all, they are intuitive to the knowledge of technology, which is something that highlights the younger generations. They were born in the digital era, and so information comes to them at the speed of light. They are technologically advanced and they work closely with technology. They are with their laptops, their smartphones, their tablets, and information is coming to them very, very fast. And they expect organizations to also provide technological aid to ensure that their work is seamless. The second characteristics about these young generations is that they are open and adaptive to change. This is very true. They challenge the status quo within the organizations. Very correct. They look forward to knowing why this should be this way. Why should we do things in a certain way? Why can't we change things a little? And this is because they are very creative, they are innovative, and they are free thinking. It is one of the major unique characteristics of the young generation. Another thing we must know about them is that they place importance on tasks rather than time. And this has shown in their preference for flexible work hours and hybrid work systems, a lot of them preferring to work remotely from home. And they place preference on delivering on their job rather than giving them a traditional 9 to 5 work hour system. And so they want flexibility, they prefer flexibility, and they enjoy flexibility. That is very particular to the young generation. Another thing we must know about them is that they are passionate for learning. Statistics show that 5 out of 10 millennials and Gen Zers are likely to complete their college education. And it has also shown that 57% of these young generations would love to work in an organization that allows for continuous learning. And so one of the things that these young generations are looking out for in any organization is how versatile and how dynamic they are in allowing them learn and allowing them develop in their career and achieve their personal goals. It is very important to these young generations. Another thing you must know about them is that they are receptive to feedback and recognition. They want to know if they are doing well, and if they are doing well, they want to be recognized for it. If they are struggling, they want constructive feedback and they want to be told how they can do better because they are result-oriented. Yes, the Gen Zers and millennials are result-oriented. They want to get their job done and they want it to be good. And so they love feedback and they want to particularly get feedback from their superiors, their supervisors, or their managers. Another thing that is particular to these generations is that they value financial freedom. Yes, they value financial freedom, and it influences their choice of where to work, it influences their career path, it influences their career progression, it influences how they adapt their personal goals into corporate goals. It influences a lot of their decisions. They value financial freedom and they go for financial intelligence. They want to learn more on how, to be financially independent, on how to be financially prudent. Financial freedom means a lot to these younger generations. They also value teamwork and social interactions in the workplace. Although there is a downside to this, because statistics and research have shown that because this generation spends so much time online using their gadgets, remember I said they're a technologically advanced generation, they tend to be socially disconnected from people, and it has shown that they can be very lonely. They sometimes don't know how to connect in real time with other individuals or other persons. And then lastly, they value their mental health. Yes, they value their mental health. Organizations in this contemporary age are beginning to put in place therapists, support groups, therapist sessions to help the mental health of these younger generations. Now, looking at their characteristics, we can see that they are very different from the individuals or the employees that were prevalent in the workplace. And this means that it is important for organizational leaders to study and understand who these new cohorts are, their peculiarities, how they can position the right strategies to attract, engage, and retain them. One of such important strategies that business owners and leaders must put in place in organizations is building and implementing a strong organizational culture. Strong organizational culture. So I will define what I mean by organizational culture. Organizational culture means the strategic way by which employees complete their tasks and interact with each other in an organization. It is a system of shared values, assumptions, and beliefs which govern how people behave within an organization. And it consists of the organization's expectations, experiences, philosophies, norms, and values that holds the organization together. In very simple terms, organizational culture connotes the way of life of an organization. It talks about the default mode of employees within an organization when the rubber hits the road. How do people behave in this kind of organization? I would say it is the unique brand and characteristics of every organization. And it shows in the very minute details of the organization to very important details of the organization. And when I talk about minute details, I mean how employees dress, how they talk, how they behave, how they interact, amongst themselves, how they respond to stakeholders, how they respond to clients. So important, aspects of the organization like decision making, policy setup, to systems and structures within the organization. So organizational culture is very important because it is that uniqueness of an organization. A very good example is what we see in the global organization Google. One of the culture they have is very flexible work hour. They also have a flexible dress culture, which does not insist that people dress formally, wearing suits and using a tie. So you have Google employees dressed down with their jeans and sneakers and t-shirts, while they are not totally averse to those who want to put on a suit. And so you see that incorporates or that stands them out. While we have the banks, the banking of financial institutions, and one of the things that stands them out is their dressing. You see, they are very corporate and formal in their dresses. Suits, well-knot ties, lace-up shoes. So that stands them out from each other. So the culture of an organization is its identity. The culture of an organization is his brand. The culture of an organization is his way of life. The culture of an organization, it's his behavior. And one of the things I would like to say at this point is that for a behavior or for a pattern or, an attitude to become a culture in an organization, it must be one that is widely shared and strongly held by everyone in the organization. I'll repeat that. It must be one that is widely shared and strongly held by everyone in the organization, which is very true. In your organization, if one or two employees uphold a behavioral pattern or a culture, you cannot call that a culture. For you to call a particular character or behavioral pattern a culture, it must be something that is cut across everyone in that organization. So why is organizational culture important? And why is it particularly important for organizations who want to retain and engage these younger generations? Organizational culture is very important because it unites and brings together employees within an organization by providing a sense of identity with that organization. When an organization has a strong culture, the employees have a form of identity with that organization. And it is very prevalent amongst the younger generations, because one of the things that the younger generations do when they interact and when they meet is that they talk about their workplace, they talk about the selling points of their organizations, they talk about the strength of their organizations, they talk about the uniqueness and the peculiarities of the organization. And when those unique traits are producing outstanding results, they want to identify with it. They are proud to talk about it. They're proud to say, oh, in my company, in my office, we do this and we get this kind of result. It forms a basis of identity for them. And it also helps the employees, bond. There is a common ground on which they can bond together. So an organizational culture is very important because it provides a sense of identity to employees in the organization. Also, the culture sets the norm, the rules, and the standards of the organization. It means that the organizational culture enables and informs employees on how to behave within the organization. A very good example is if the culture of an organization is responding politely to clients or customers, irrespective of the customer's behavior, then it is imperative, or it means that it is expected of every employee in the organization to respond and behave politely. And it means that if an employee behaves otherwise, such an employee can be penalized or disciplined or corrected depending on the measures that the leadership decides to mete out. So that culture informs how the employees within the organization behave. If it's an organization that has a culture of work hard and play hard, it means that employees within the organization are expected to give their best, their 100% to work, because they would have a time where they can relax and have fun and play, have corporate outings, go out on vacations together, go for corporate dinners. That is the culture, and it's expected that the employees adapt to that culture. So it sets the standard for behavior in the organization. Another importance of organizational culture is that it facilitates open communication. Very important. When a culture is prevalent in an organization and the employees within the organization know that this is how we behave, it allows for open communication. There are no gray areas. And even if there are gray areas, it allows the employees boldly ask questions about why certain things are done in certain ways within the organization. So it facilitates open communication. Another importance is that it differentiates one organization from another. And like I said earlier, that is the unique selling point or the identity or the brand of that organization, and employees can identify with it. Another importance of organizational culture that I want us to consider is that it enhances mutual trust and cooperation. It enhances mutual trust and cooperation. Very correct. When the employees know that this is what is expected of them, they know this is how we run our processes within the organization, this is how we behave, this is what we value, this is what we hold dear. It allows the employees trust the management, it allows them trust the leadership, and it allows them trust decision-making processes. They understand that this is what is, upheld in the organization, and we believe that the leadership of this organization would not flout their rules. So it generates trust and cooperation within the organization. And because of that, it allows for fewer disagreements and makes decision-making processes very efficient. Another importance of organizational culture is that it impacts the performance and motivation levels of employees. Once an organization has a strong culture, particularly if it's a culture that is ethical, that boosts the morale of the employees and is, motivates them, particularly intrinsically, it helps the employees do better at their job. The employees feel like, this organization has our best interest at heart, and they can give their best to the job. And lastly, organizational culture assists employees in making sense of their behaviors by providing justification for their behaviors. Remember that I said earlier that one of the importance of organizational culture is that it sets the rule and the standards of behavior in an organization. And so when the standard has been set, it allows employees justify their actions. A very good example is if an organization has a culture of flexible work hours, it means that an employee is not expected to resume at a particular time or close at a particular time. So it means if an employee does not resume or clock in by 9 a.m., they can justify their actions because the organization runs the culture of flexible work hours. Another example is if an organization runs the culture of open communication, whether vertically or horizontally. If an employee questions the decision or questions a process of a supervisor or the leader, the behavior of that employee is justified because that culture is a standard within the organization. Open communication, you can ask questions without being penalized or without being judged or attacked. So organizational culture helps the employees to make sense of their behavior, and it also provides justification for their behaviors. Now, organizational culture is very important in this dynamic, and changing world system that particularly focuses on the younger generations, because the younger generations value, organizations that have standards, that have ethics, and that have rules that particularly favor their personal goals, that favor their values, that favor their norms. One of the characteristics I mentioned earlier about these younger generations is their passion for learning. And so if an organization has a strong culture of continuous learning and puts in place structures that implements and enforces learning amongst the employees, then you would attract, engage, and enjoy the efficiency of these younger generations. And so this is what we'll be considering throughout this series. We'll be looking at the components of organizational culture. We'll be looking at the advantages of organizational culture. We'll be looking at the strategies that can be put in place to ensure that a culture is strong and that it is widely accepted by the employees within the organization. We'll also be looking at the impact of leadership on organizational culture. We'll also be looking at the impact of communication and feedback on organizational culture. It's going to be a very interesting, enlightening series, and I don't want you to miss out on any of this. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode, and I hope you learned something new today that can be instrumental to the progress and productivity of your organization. For questions, comments, and feedback, you can reach out to us via theamogate.org, theamogate.org. For more wonderful and enlightening programs, you can check out our reels and recordings on mixlr.com/amogate-radio-communications. I'll take that again. You can check out our recordings on mixlr.com/amogate-radio-communications. You can also follow Amogate on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn for more enlightening posts, comments, instructional videos that would help scale up your organization and give you a competitive edge in today's dynamic world. I am Adikweju Jayoba. Thank you for joining me today. I'll be with you same time next week. Have a wonderful day. Bye.